you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Good morning and welcome to the February the 28th edition, February 28th, 2023 edition of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. We would love to have you to participate in the show, and you can do so by calling this number 516-453-9921. And to participate, just press the number 1 button. And when you do that, the call screener will be there and give the call screener your name. And if you would like a short message or a question, you can do so by doing that. If you are a first-time caller, make sure that you give the call screener your name and then tell the call screener that you are a first-time caller, and we have something very special for you. You can also send me your questions at my Gmail address. That is the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. And your question that you ask probably will not be ready today, but we'll go into a rotation, and then at a certain time I will let you know by giving you a symbol that not only have I received it, but that the date and the time that your question will be read so you can hear it. And lastly, you can get into the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to make sure that you click on the shows, and you want to get the Produce Justice program. And when you do that, you click that on, and then the chat room box will become available for you, and you can get into the chat room. Okay, all the books are in. Mr. Fuller, at some point in today's 2-hour programming, will elaborate on how you can obtain your copy of the code book, also called the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. He'll tell you more about that. But you can go to producejustice.com, and all the information about the books and about program, past shows, and any other type of information related to Producing Justice will be on that show. Producing Justice by Mr. Fuller will be on that show. Okay, I believe that is it. So let me go ahead and start today's program. Let me introduce, first of all, good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, you are still learning. Let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and we have a little segment that we start off the program with. It's called The Thoughts and Expressions on the Mind of Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Mr. Fuller, today being the last day of February 2023, what is on your mind of interest this day?
Well, the main thing is I have noticed that some white people are becoming more and more vocal about the race issue, and I think that's a healthy thing. But we don't have enough talk about it as far as solutions. But black people have been almost confined exclusively, it seems to me. They're just talking to each other and usually arguing and blaming each other for this condition or that condition, or why don't somebody do something. That's almost like a cliche. Well, why don't black people, where's Wall Street? How come we ain't got this? How come we ain't got that? And how come these handkerchief head black people ain't doing nothing? Why don't the churches do this? Why don't the churches do that? And white people have just been basically silent, with the exception of a few who are very vocal about somebody needs to do something about these black people, but they don't say it directly. And they don't even address to whom they are talking. They're not talking to black people. They mostly just, when it starts talking about any kind of solution, it's just silence. So some white people, even though they are making criticisms of black people, at least that's better than the silence. That's something you can at least talk about. The white people are saying, well, black people are not doing their part. Black people, and these are the facts, killing each other. They're talking about cops killing black people and whatnot. What about black people killing each other and doing it with glee and looking forward to doing it by the train load each and every day? Can't get enough of it. I mean, we'd rather do that than play basketball or anything. Just kill each other. Just run around just trying to find a way to where's some black person that I can kill. I don't see nobody on the streets. I mean, they got to come out sometime. I'm going to get them when they do. And that's black people killing each other everywhere. And doing it with a great smile on their faces. Those who are doing it. I say they because I'm not doing it. But why is it that I'm not doing it and other black people are doing it? What's the motivation? Where's the payoff? But white people, they say it. Black people go silent. And I have in front of me some basic questions I just wrote down yesterday. Who are the people most to blame for black people killing black people? I just have 3 questions here. And I think these questions are crucial to be asked every day, all day, in every school. Who are the people most to blame for black people killing black people? And number 2, who are the people most qualified to put a stop to it? Somebody's qualified, I guess. I don't know, to put a stop to it, but I do have my idea. And it's usually the same thing that people get tired. Some people get tired of hearing me say it. And then there's a 3rd question. Why do black people continue to kill black people? Killing each other while bragging about love. Black people talk about love almost more than anybody. Love is just all over the place. Gunshots in the background, love in the foreground, and then the gunshots take over the foreground, and black love is in the background, and it's just all over the place. Love, pop, pop, pop. Love, pop, pop, pop. Love, pop, pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop. Love, love, love. Balloons. Teddy bears on a fence. Little balloons saying love, 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 all over the place. Shell cases right up under the balloons on a ragged fence. I mean, now who's to blame for this mess? Is it black people? Is the Tooth Fairy? Is it somebody up on the moon? When we start talking about who can put a stop to it, everybody goes silent, except that word love keeps popping up. Well, love will do it. Well, who's love? Where is it? As the song saying, where's love? Lots of songs are written about love. more songs about love than anything. But the sound of 9 millimeters on the loudest thing next to black people beating drums talking about our great civilizations. Sound of drums drumming up our history on Black History Month, which is phasing out today, February the 28th, I think, 2023. And to the sound of drums of civilization, black civilizations, you hear that over and over again. Oh, black people got the greatest civilizations that ever was. I mean, we're the most civilized people ever. Pop, 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 pop. Die, Negro, die. With your black self, just looking just like me. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. If you got a brother, I'm going to hunt him down and kill him too. If you got anybody else in your family that looks like me, I'm going to kill them too. Well, why are you doing this? Well, black civilization. Are we crazy? Somebody needs to have an explanation for this. I think I have one, but when I voice it, people say that I'm saying things that shouldn't. Some people say I'm saying things that should not be said. Love will take care of it. Just shut up, fella. Just wait for love to take care of it. And stop sounding like you're criticizing black people, which is what I'm not doing. I'm just observing and calling it what it is. It's not a criticism. Because I have my own opinion about who's causing it. All of it. And when I say it, people either go sour or they say, come on, Fuller. Stop talking about white supremacy. Talk about Black Wall Street. That's what's on my mind.
That is what's on your mind. Okay, Mr. Fuller. Before we go to the questions, let me say this. Okay, good. I was getting ready to say, for those of you who have a question, please give the call screener your name so that we can identify who you are as you ask your questions. Mr. Fuller, you read a lot of papers and watch, I guess, the news or whatever you do on the television. This gentleman by the name of Scott Adams has a cartoon character called Dilbert. Are you familiar with that?
Saw something about it on television yesterday and the day before. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not familiar enough with it in depth because I haven't heard enough talk about it to know enough about it in order to make a comment, other than to say that I have heard him make a remark, and I think I heard correctly, that he said white people should get away from black people as far away as they possibly can, as a solution to the race problem, I guess. White people should get away from black people. Now, I haven't heard the rest of it, and I would like to hear it. I haven't seen it in print because I haven't had a newspaper available.
Yes, sir. Well, some of the, you are correct in what you just stated. One of the programs is called On Coffee, or rather Coffee with Scott Adams this week. He said that, quote, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the F away. Wherever you have to go, just get away, because there is no fixing this. This can't be fixed. he was talking about black people, mostly hateful and mostly racist, and said, end of quote. And he said it wasn't a difficult, the paper that I got this from said it wasn't a difficult decision to drop him, as he's been dropped by many publications, but he came out and he made that remark. So I was wondering if you had heard that. It's in several large metropolitan dailies across this nation, and he is a supporter, he expressed admiration for President Donald Trump while suggesting that following a Biden victory, there was a, quote, good chance, end of quote, Republicans would be hunted down and killed. Scott Adams Dilbert, Elon Musk even agreed with him. Quote, this is from Elon Musk, simultaneously an interesting question and a tongue twister. A lot of stuff going on. Let's go to the phone calls. Corey, or rather Cleo in Houston. Let me get you right here. Okay, you are on. Go ahead, Cleo, Houston.
Good morning. Long live NFJ and forever live Logic. Thank you, Mr. Bobby, Robert, Sharon, Moon Pie, CRCS team, for everything that you do, both on and off the air, in this partnership with Mr. Fuller. Thank you for all the callers in the chat room and all the participants as well, as we all seek to counter racism day in and day out. Mr. Fuller, like you, I continuously get requests to stop talking about white supremacy or not to mention it. And currently I'm in a doctoral degree program, which is going to culminate with a white person signature on my diploma. I understand that, and I understand the whole game behind that. But even in that program, Mr. Fuller, I'm encountering, when I write about, I'm looking at the issue of the school-to-prison pipeline, and I understand that we're all born in a prison if you're a person of non-white descent. But in trying to deal with that problem, I'm told by predominantly white professors that, don't use white supremacy. You're trying to be a revolutionary, or we can't do that. You're going to ostracize yourself from people that you would probably want to work with, and because they're going to take offense to the use of that. But yet, Mr. Fuller, I watch on TV how the NFL runs commercials as well as have printed in their the back of the end zones, end racism. And it seems to me that it's more palatable for white people and non-white people to hear the word racism than it is to hear the word white supremacy. And you say all the time, fit your tongue to say it. Call it what it is. So I don't go around trying to use the words of white privilege or bigotry, prejudice, and all these other ambiguous terms to describe what this power system construct is and what we're dealing with, because I do understand the enormity of that whole challenge. What is a counter-racist, logical way of continuing that struggle, even because I know that's the only way that we can press through this denial to get to some solutions?
Just like I opened the program, the codified approach is get white people, like I said on page 171 and 172, to answer those 4 questions. Everybody who is in any kind of contact with white people, any kind, and the subject of race comes up, and the code says it's best for a white person to bring it up if you're around white people. Otherwise, they say that the conversation doesn't go very well. But if they bring up anything about it, that's an opportunity. And then you go into what do you want to do? Or what do you want me to do? Why do you want me to do it? How do you plan for me to do it or for you to do it? And what do you expect the constructive result to be? And it's just like the cartoonist that we were talking about earlier, just a few minutes earlier, who has made those remarks. Well, rather than start talking about firing them and all like that, you can just deal with what he says. I mean, this is an excellent opportunity to do what I suggested, and that is black people just huddling somewhere in a basement talking to each other about how miserable our situation is over and over and over again until we just nod off to sleep. Talk to the white people because that's what we have to talk to eventually anyway. That's who we got to negotiate with. White people understand that. That's how wars are started and ended. I mean, if they're going to start or end at all, usually people doing some talking. That's why back in the 1940s, Roosevelt said the Japanese have bombed Pearl Harbor, and so now we've gone through the talking stage. Now we're getting into the fighting stage. So I'm declaring, see, this is part of the talking stage. I'm asking the Congress to declare war, because the Congress is the legislative branch, on the Empire of Japan because they have struck us in a surprise attack without warning. We didn't have any warning that this was going to happen. So now I'm going to, through talking with them, I'm talking to the folks who are going to do the fighting, because I'm the leader, and your sons and daughters, we got representative government here. I'm asking you to go to war, since they have gone to war with us, to go to war with Japan, to strike back, and don't stop until it's finished. But they talked. I mean, they talked to each other about how to respond. And then once a decision was made, that was it. That was according to a code, whatever you want to call it, but they said congressional legislation. So it's the same here. But we haven't even been talking to white people. We've been talking to each other and huddling with each other. But at some point, you got to get out on the field with your opponent, the people who are opposed to you, and the action takes place there. Every coach knows that. You just don't huddle into the locker room forever. You have to come out on the field. So black people, we're excellent at talking to each other. Well, this, if y'all hadn't done this and y'all haven't done that, and, if we just, we got to do something about our sellout and black leaders, and then round and round and round in a circle. But when white people come and say, well, we're ready to talk, what do y'all got to say? Well, Black Lives Matter. Somebody got to do something about the police. But when all the talk is done, no action has been taken. So if we talk to the white people who say, the problem is you all, period, and like this white man has reported recently, saying that our solution is to get away from you. Now, in answer to the people who are calling in, that's where the code really kicks in, because you ask those questions, starting off with those 4 questions on page 171 and 172 in the textbook for victims of white supremacy. The doing part. See, it's all about doing, not just talking about doing. doing. What are you going to do? What are you going to do in the next 5 minutes? Because some of this stuff can be settled in 5 minutes. Stuff that's been hanging on for decades can be done in 5 minutes. Some of it. So that's the part you want done if it's going to be of constructive value. But you got to at least talk about it in order to get it done. The talk comes first. But if you keep dodging the talk, nothing's going to happen other than just moaning and groaning and ballooning all over the place. And teddy bears, with black people dead. How do you stop the killing? How do you actually stop it? Not talk about stopping it. Well, we need some programs. And then when you look for the program, nobody's even starting one. Nobody's even writing out some suggestions for what the program is supposed to be. We just keep repeating, we need some programs for the youth. Now, these young boys have got to have something to do. We got to find something. It's not a plan. Something to do, like what? And so the white people got to get involved in that. We ought to know that by now. These are what we call our children. We're children. Neely Fuller Jr. is a child. Why? Prisoners of war are children. Doesn't make any difference how old you are, or where you've been, or what you've heard, and how many books you read. When you're a prisoner of war, you're a child. Somebody makes all the decisions for prisoners of war, other than the prisoner of war. We ought to know that by now. Except to say that we're not prisoners of war, and then we examine that. Are we? Or are we not? Do we fit the characteristics of prisoners of war? Are we in captivity on the level of prisoners of war? Do we fit that description? Yes or no? See, all problems can be solved through what? Questions and answers. Do black people fit the description of prisoners of war in the year 2023? Worldwide. Yes or no? And then we can go into particulars to ask all the follow-up questions. But we don't, we make a lot of remarks, but we don't ask questions and get answers. We ask questions, but we don't get answers, and we just move on to the next question. That's not the way it's done. If you're ever going to get anything done, you ask a question, you don't move to the second question before the first question is answered. That's how you make that mythical thing called progress that we always talk about, and we don't even know what it is, because we haven't made any. As long as black people are killing each other, just on that alone, black people haven't made any progress. Just on that alone. Our standards are too low, much too low, before we start marching down the street drumming and talking about how great we are. Once a year. Black History Month.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Cleo, thank you, and I will keep you on the line. Let's take a break here. You are listening to the Cali Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. Now, if you would like to be a participant in today's show, call this number, 516-453-9921. Make sure that you press the number 1 button, and please give your name to the call screener so that I can get it and introduce you. You can also, if you are a first-time caller, all you have to do is dial that same number and be sure to tell the call screener that you are a first-time caller, and we have something especially set up for you. You can also Gmail me for your questions. Now, I probably will not be able to ask your questions today, but you can do that at my Gmail address, the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. And at some point in time, I will give you the message or symbol that I have received your message. And when your message is read, I will also alert you to the date and the time. You can also join the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com. And when you do, you want to make sure that you click on Programs, and you want to get the Produce Justice show. When you do that, then the box becomes available for you to join the chat room. Please, ma'am, please, sir, do not use the chat room to ask me a question, to ask Mr. Fuller. That's what the Gmail address is, or the phone number, so you can make yourself available to that. Okay, I believe that's it. Yes, and don't forget that the books are available at producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com, all Neely Fuller's books. Before I go back to the phone lines, let me read this Gmail from Brian. I guess there's some stuff going on, but he says, Mr. Bobby, Neely Fuller's work is spreading like wildfire all over the Internet. Also, every time I write, I mention Neely Fuller's name and his website. I even tell Boyce Watkins he talks about financial things on YouTube using Neely Fuller's work. But this is what he wrote, you not telling people who Neely Fuller is. That's not nice. Well, I've heard of Boyce Watkins, but and his financial things, but I haven't heard him use that Neely Fuller's work. He's not giving Neely Fuller credit for some things. If he's doing that, then I would suggest that he not do that, or at least wherever he's getting his information from Neely Fuller, if he is, to give Neely Fuller his due justice. That would be the thing to do on that. That would be the thing to do. So I don't know if he's doing that. Brian says he is. So maybe that requires further exploration. But anybody that is using Mr. Fuller's work and not giving him credit for that work, I suggest that you not do that. That's not good at all. Okay, let's go to Dallas, and we have Ray. Ray, let me see if I can get you in here. Okay, I think I got you in, Ray. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Mr. Bobby,
Ray?
I would like to...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, hello?
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to be on the line, please. Keep me on the line.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Ray.
Fuller. Yes. Mr. Fuller, why are quantum numbers of white people, not white supremacists, but white people, reluctant to end the system of white supremacy when they know because of its existence they can become a white sacrifice at any time?
Oh, that's a part of the system. They know that. White people are aware of how, a war is conducted. The soldiers on all sides, and people who do not consider themselves to be soldiers get killed, get harmed, lose their the roof over their head, have to be dislocated, have to move from one place to another. So white people in general, and specifically the white people who practice white supremacy, they all understand this. I mean, it's called war. We're in a non-stop war. There's no such thing as, slavery is war. As long as you have it, and the slaves are trying to rebel, you have a war going on. And as far back as, and the system of white supremacy is a supreme slave system. It's the most efficient slave system ever thought up. That's why people don't want to turn loose to it. It's so efficient. Efficient in what manner? Getting more things done. More products and whatnot come out of the system of white supremacy than ever before in recorded history. And it's very efficient when it comes to handling things. It's not efficient when it comes to interaction between people, except to harm people. You got to harm, you got to throw away millions of people, just throw them away in order to get the things done. And that's why there should be opposition to it and get rid of it, because you can do the same thing in a system of justice without harming people. But it's a little more difficult to operate a justice system. And that's why, in answer to the question, white people understand, well, we're going to lose a lot of white people because black people are not so stupid that if they, when they see us doing something, then it's okay. So we got to kill each other. We glorify murder. We glorify murder, and we got to keep glorifying murder. We can't stop doing that. We got to even make, in our movies that we make about going in outer space, even before we get there, we got to show what we're going to do when we do get there. So we'll make movies, blockbuster movies. That's what we'll give them, even that title, blockbusters. Go bust a block. I mean, that's a term that grew out of, I think, World War II, when they had bombs that were actually called that. You can drop this bomb on a block of people, a whole block full of people, and it blows up the whole block. This is a 2,000-pound bomb. That was the size of the average city at that time. In that city, the city is divided into blocks. So if you drop this bomb on that city and you hit anywhere on that block, it's going to wipe out the entire block. So they say that we'll attach that even to the name of movies, blockbuster. What's a movie got to do with busting blocks? Well, we want people to have that type of mentality. Violent language. We'll have language that's always violent. Blockbuster movies, and we'll have language that says, or songs, that might have, like, I get a kick out of you. I get a kick out of you. A kick. At a baseball game, they'll say, what? Knock him dead. And even in describing a white woman, who really gets everybody excited, they'll call her, say, something like blonde bombshell. Bombshell? That's blowing something up. Well, hey, white woman walks into the room, bunch of black people, she's bombing everything in there. Just by her presence, everybody gives her attention. Who's black? That's a white woman in this room. Y'all better straighten up. That's the old tradition. A song. What do they call songs? Hit songs. This song is a hit. Black people will write a song, and they taught us that. This is going to be a hit. A hit? What? A song is a song. It's something you sing. Yeah, but we call it a hit song. Well, you're going to hit the song? What? See, they're talking about destruction. Build things in order to destroy. Look forward to it. And then they teach black people that, knowing that black people will be kind of limited in doing it to anybody except each other. So we have that mentality. And we look forward to it. black people right up until maybe they get to the place where they're in a wheelchair and can't do it no more. Then we want to go around and reform the other black people. Tell the young boy, what we call young bloods, don't get into that kind of life. Yeah, you're saying that now, but you killed 5 and 6 and 8 people and got away with it until somebody finally put a bullet through your spine, and that's why you're in that wheelchair giving advice to everybody else now. This has got to stop. Why not just stop while what am I getting out of this? What am I going to get in the future? But the white supremacists, and here's where the code comes in. You blame it all where the blame lies, and you don't back off of that. The white supremacists are behind it all. We don't know nothing that they didn't teach us, and that's the truth.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you, Mr. Fuller. Ray, we're going to keep you on, and we thank you for your thank you for your call. Let's go to New York, and please, by the way, please make your comments or your comments. Make them a little short because they've given me a clock, and I have to look at it and have to keep things in perspective in regard to that clock, so that Mr. Fuller can answer your question. So please, ma'am, please, sir, as you listen or as you ask your question, please be mindful of that. New York, Tess, let me see if I can get you in here. Okay, you are on. What is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Good morning. Thank you to Corey for addressing everyone. I want to thank everybody on the broadcast. Thank you for making this available to us. In this scenario, a non-white person and white person are acquaintances for years, and after a recent interaction, there is evidence to conclude that the white person is a white supremacist. My question is, while minimizing the likelihood of conflict, what are a few critical questions that the non-white person may ask the suspected white supremacist so that constructive conversation may happen? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Oh, you tell, when you talk to white people, first of all, you have to have in mind, what are you talking to them for? So you just ask questions about how, because we need a lot of things. We need housing, we need income, because they require these things. So when you talk to white people, you ask them, what's the best way, the most constructive way to acquire whatever it is that you need? Because that's all everything is about, taking care of your needs in a manner that is constructive for everybody, including like the person who started off this program talking about, that person who says every white person should get away from black people. That was his advice. Well, now, so why get away from black people? And ask that question of the person, because if I was talking to him, I'd know what questions to ask. And that's what we all have to learn when you're talking to white people. So you just ask them, what's their solution to any problem that anybody says they have? White people are in the best position to solve any problem. You go to the moon, you can make a pencil sharpener or whatnot. I mean, black people have to learn that, and we have to learn it from white people. They cut us off from learning anything a long time ago that's worth knowing, except how to rob somebody. They taught us plenty of that, but not enough to rob on a big scale, because they steal whole continents, sometimes without firing very many shots. So we don't know anything about that except what they teach us. We're small-scale people on everything. In fact, that N word is associated with small scale. There is a word in the dictionary called what? Niggard. not the N word as we know it, but there's a word that's right in that neighborhood called niggard, niggardly. What does it mean? Small-minded. Do everything. Make a big deal out of nothing. You look at what they talk about, what their conversation is about, and you think that they're talking about making a whole new universe, but it ain't nothing about something that's real petty, real small, stingy-minded, semi-retarded, whatever, something that's insignificant. And then you attach that word to black people's behavior, because that's basically what it means. We just don't recognize it when it's spelled niggardly or niggard. Necro. The word necro. The word necro means what? It means dark. All right. Stingy. Dead. Necro.
Okay.
Dead. D-E-A-D. Walking dead. When you look at a black person, that's what you're looking at. The walking dead. Well, his body is moving. Yeah, his body is moving, but his mind is non-existent. That's a thing without a mind. So you have to direct it. You become the mind for that thing called Negro or Necro, walking dead. White person come along, that's when it comes alive.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time is just a zombie.
Just a zombie. All righty. Thank you, Tess from New York. I was looking up that word you just referenced, Mr. Fuller, niggardly, and as an objective, or but adjective, it means reluctant to give or spend, stingy, miserly, meaningly, or ungenerously, small or scanty. A niggardly tip to a waiter, adverb, in a stingy, miserly, or tight-fisted manner. So you were exactly right on with that definition of that. And wow. Let's move to this. This is from Anonymous from the Gmails. It says, question to Mr. Fuller, black men with kids. Question, Mr. Fuller, do you think it's a narcissistic behavior for black men that have a bunch of children and not have nothing to do with them at all? And where did they get this trait from? Signed, Anonymous.
For black men, he said, to do what?
Wait a minute. Let me go back to it. Do you think it is narcissistic behavior for a black man or black men that have a bunch of children and not have nothing to do with them at all? And where did they get this trait from?
They got it from the white supremacists. Where all of our traits come from. The black people on the planet now, we come under the system of white supremacy. We've never known any other government of any kind, ever. Every black person who's on this planet right now in the year 2023 has never known any form of government except the system of white supremacy. I'm making a flat statement now that's either true or false. We have never known any system of government of any kind other than that. And the system of government that we're under now, the system of government called the system of white supremacy, in capital letters, teaches black people and trains black people to be girls and boys, and now even in the refined stages of the system of white supremacy, turning us into all types of things sexually that have to find, reach and grab and make up definitions for us, because it's good for the business of white supremacy. And that's just in the area of sex. But it also applies to economics, education, entertainment, control what they do to entertain themselves. Pay them big money to go on television and do stupid stuff. Don't after they look at a 3-hour program and turn off, it's almost like a relief when they turn the TV off, because they have not learned anything of any value that is constructive. Don't teach a black person anything, but make it look like it's a big deal. But when you really look at it, what they actually learn from it, it's not anything that will be of any future constructive value. They would have looked at a 3-hour program with a whole bunch of flashing lights and glitz and this and that and the other, and handing out, how many awards we got back there in that warehouse? Oh, about 4 or 5 million. Well, we'll hand them out one at a time, make them think that it's a big deal. And that's what they'll look forward to. Holding it up, grinning in the air, and think that's the solution to their problems. And we'll tell them that, and they'll believe it. Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay. All right.
So that in answer to the question, that's what it is. And they tell black males, well, you're men. But I got to say this, because that's more to the point of the question that was raised. Black males are not men. I don't care how old they get. Prisoners of war are not men. Never will be as long as they are prisoners of war. You're not a man now. That's been taken away. You are indeed a boy. Neely Fuller Jr. is a boy in the system of white supremacy. When they call me boy, I don't get angry, because they're telling the truth. If they were telling me anything else, telling me I am a man, that's when I would get upset, because I know that I'm not. You can't be a prisoner of war and be a man. It doesn't work like that. A POW is not a man as long as he's a POW. You got to get out of that POW status. Then you have the opportunity to be one. But you can't take care of nobody when you're a POW. You're being taken care of. And you can produce offspring, but every black person in the system of white supremacy, you're not taking care of your offspring. These are the white supremacist offspring. When a black male right now has a baby, even though he's supposed to be a husband and all like that, he's no husband. The white supremacists are in charge of him. And he's a child. And in the offspring that he has, these are just other children. We're all children. And we're all equal. I am equal to any child that I produce. Because an alien power is taking care of me. I get prison food and housing because I'm a prisoner of war. We have to understand that.
Okay. All righty. Getting ready to end this first hour. Let me do this. Another question from the Gmails. It says, this is from Kim. Mr. Fuller, I have a question I'd like answered by you, Mr. Fuller. About 10 to 15 years ago, I noticed a trend with white women adopting black children. Today, I see this same trend, but now it's with black males/men. My question is, why do white women want to attach themselves with black people all of a sudden? Thanks for answering my question, and have a great day, Kim.
Like they go to the dog pound, and adopt some pets. That's the answer. In fact, I heard a black school teacher years ago look out the window. White woman was walking with a black male, and he said, "You know what she's doing?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "Walking a dog." Yeah.
Walking a dog.
Yeah. Go to the dog pound, some dog that somebody threw away. Didn't have no place to go, wandering the world just like black people do. And she says, "I'll adopt that one over there." And then she puts a leash on him and walks him. That was a correct description. It wasn't hard for me to figure out when he made it just that simple. She's walking a dog. When you see a white woman with a black male, he's not a man, in the system of white supremacy, she's dog walking. Doesn't make any difference how she feels about him and all like that. That's what she's actually doing, because the system of white supremacy demands that is the frame of reference, and that is, we are pets. All right? Along with being able to provide, things that the four-legged animals can't do. We can do things like wash dishes and sit behind a desk, whatever they train us to do. We're well trained and brag about the training that we got. But we're just sophisticated animals, like the person said in the movie Godfather. And we'll sell drugs to the black people. We're restricted to them, to the coloreds. They're nothing but animals anyway. Godfather 1, look at that movie. They nailed it correctly. They are nothing but animals anyway, all of them. So when we make drugs, we're going to see to it that our people don't get it. Now, that didn't work.
Yes, sir.
See, because when you spread poison, a lot of it is going to get on you eventually. Okay? Like if you work in a factory where the sparks are flying and all like that, every now and then you might catch on fire. Okay?
Gotcha. Well, I certainly hope what you just said is not in reference to what Rufus Thomas sang in 1965. Remember that song, Walking the Dog? Yeah, he did that, Rufus Thomas. Well, we've come to the end of the first hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Fuller. He didn't get a chance to speak about his book, but we'll make sure that he does that in the second hour. You can get that by going to producejustice.com. For those who have to go, we thank you for your participation. We thank you for your questions. But for those who are going to stay, guess what? We have another full hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. So stay tuned. Get ready for an outstanding hour that we will try to do our best in helping the world, or helping our people understand what this racist system is and how to get rid of it. ProduceJustice.com is where you go for all the latest information that you need, and the books, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Get that book, and tell others about that book. Okay, so we're gonna close this hour out, and then we will do the second hour in about 10 seconds. So let's do it from now. And thank you for listening. And for those who are going to stay right there. We'll be back in about 10 seconds. Alrighty, welcome back to the second hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. If you missed the second hour, they will put that up and you can hear the second hour, in particular what Mr. Neely Fuller said about in his thoughts and expressions on his mind. Make sure you get that. Okay, for those that are just coming on to the program and for those who are new, you can call this number, 516-453-9921. And when you get that, make sure if you have a question, you want to give the call screener your name so that I can properly give you the introduction. If you are a new caller, make sure you tell the call screener that, and they will alert me, and then we have something special for you. If you can't do that, then use the Gmail that I have. It's at 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com, and you can ask your questions there. And now, it may not be read today, but I will do that and inform you of all the latest concerning your question. And, of course, you can join the chat room where some interesting chats are in there. Go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to make sure that you click on programs. And when you do that, the produced justice show will come up. You're able to click that bad boy in, and then the chat room is available for you to get into the chat room and enjoy some of the conversations that are in the chat room. And occasionally, I will select something that's being said, but do not use the chat room to ask me to ask the question to Mr. Fuller. That's what the number is and the Gmail is. Okay, let me start off the second hour by having Mr. Fuller speak about his book, since we didn't get a chance to do it in the first hour. Mr. Fuller, let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Mr. Fuller, this book that you have written, go ahead and talk about that for a few moments, please, sir.
Yes, it's a textbook workbook for thinking, speaking, and acting for victims of white supremacy. Now, that's the individual person who is a victim of white supremacy, a prisoner of war. If you consider yourself a prisoner of war or a victim of white supremacy, which is the same thing, because racism is war. Anytime anybody, you are a victim of racism and you are under the power of those white people, not talking about all white people, talking about those white people who practice white supremacy, which is the dominant government of the entire planet among people in the year 2023. Now, you can have governments by other names and all like that, and tribal names, that's a government. An individual person is a government. If you're talking about the word government, one person is a government. But that government is very limited. It depends on other people. One person depends on other person. One person depends on other people to be a part of what that person does. So it's sort of interdependent, to use the popular word. But you try to be as independent as you possibly can. That's one person. How do you do this? By learning everything you can of constructive value. There are some people who know more than others about something. I think everybody is that way. There's an old saying, somebody says an African proverb, he who does not know one thing knows another. So each and every person is a government within him or herself. But then when a lot of people, so-called organized, they form a more powerful government than the other people as individuals put together. Now, this book is written for the individual person, to make the individual person as much best it possibly can. When I say individual person, I'm talking about people of color in the system of white supremacy, victims of white supremacy. You make that government, that one person, as strong as that one person can be, mentally and physically, because that's the key to the solution of many people being strong and efficient in doing things that are of constructive value. So the more people you have as individual persons who know how to do a lot of things of constructive value and who are physically fit to do many things and have the mental ability to accomplish many things, figure things out, do some thinking without having to consult somebody on something. You just consult yourself in order to get things done in an efficient manner. That's what this book is about. And it helps a person to solve his or her problem in a racist world, which is what you're in. If you're a victim of that racism, without consulting anybody, including Neely Fuller, first by learning how to think and what to think about. And then you're on your own more. Things will start coming to you once you get on that correct track, and not the track that the white supremacists want you to be on. So that's what this book is written for. The individual person. Make the individual person strong. And then if you make every individual person strong in mind and body, you're making a whole collection of people strong in mind and body. That's just the mathematics of it. That's the mathematics of the universe. If each grain of sand is strong, then all the grains of sand are strong. If each one of them, every last one of them, but if they are weak, or the majority of them are weak, the majority of them will drag down the ones that are strong, or be insignificant among them, so to speak. So that's the theory. And that theory is rooted in universal law. So in solving the race problem, if you can solve the problem of each individual black person, then you're solving the problems of all black people. That's the theory. And that's what this book is for. Any problem that comes up, we're supposed to be able to solve that problem as an individual person, your own individual problem, on a job, anywhere else, or in a business. You don't need a crowd with you. You can say, I don't need a crowd now, because I know what to do in any situation that I'm in and what not to do. I know what to say and how to say it. That's what this book is supposed to be designed to set us on that type of track, where every black person is, as an individual, as strong as a person can be in doing everything that is of constructive value. Now, that may not be something that can be achieved, but it's certainly, in a sensible way, something to aim for. Because right now, even a huge number of black people, I mean millions of black people, even on a whole lot of land, are just as lost as we can be. Don't know how to do or how to handle much of anything. And just a handful of white supremacists, because they have a code, all right? This is supposed to be a black code that I'm trying to get people to understand. The white supremacists already have a code. That's why just a handful of them can go among millions of black people. I arrive at 5 o'clock in the morning, and by noon, have all of those millions of black people bowing down to them. Now, that's not magic. That's because that handful of white people have a code. Their allegiance is to a code, a white code, that's designed to make each and every person strong. Each and every one of them. And that white person, when they come among black people, has the mental ability, first of all, to influence those black people in such a way that the black people become weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. Got us on drugs and bragging about it. Man, I was snorting some good stuff last night. Y'all should have looked me up. I had a little left over. Bragging about it. Self-destruction. That's what the white supremacist mind can do to a black mind. That's why we're killing each other by the bushel and almost bragging about it. Hello.
Yeah. You're speaking about your book.
Yes. Well, the book is supposed to help us get out of that kind of condition. If it doesn't, the book has failed. I think the book will help us. I use it myself because all it is about solving problems, to make it simple for the black person. Helping a black person solve problems when nobody will help. The individual black person. What to think about, and then how to act after you think. Because you're supposed to always think before you act. Something that tons of black people don't do and hate to do. We hate to do any kind of thinking. Leave that to the white folks. They do all the thinking. But I can act. I can run around in a circle, jump up and down, turn flips. Man, when you see a black person, boy, we can act. We can make our bodies move. But our minds ain't supposed to be doing nothing. Leave that to the white folks. We have been trained to do that, just like animals.
Okay. Where can we get the book at, Mr. Fuller?
Go to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com.
All righty. Producejustice.com. All righty. Let's go back to the phone lines, and we have Corey. See if I can get you in. Corey from Milwaukee. Okay, Corey, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
Mr. Fuller, what would be the compensatory requirements, or some of them, for black people for us to continue to produce children? But my question basically, should we continue to produce children under this system of white supremacy?
Yes. Yes, we should. But we should start saying seriously, they'll play the trick on us by saying we don't take care of our children. We are children. We are children having children. But they set it up that way. And we should say it just like I just said it. Yeah. I got 8 children or 10 children or whatever it is, just like we were when we were on the plantation. They didn't mind us having them then. Okay? But they are not claiming their children. See, we are all their children. White people, under the system of white supremacy, they are our masters. We get everything from them. We don't get it from some tooth fairy or something. Just ask yourself, where do you get whatever you get? And you say, oh, no, I went to school and I got a job. You got a job. I got my own business. In fact, I'm doing better than people on Black Wall Street ever did, Yeah, but how did you get whatever it is that you got, including your quote, unquote, education? Say, well, I went to a black university. That comes under the system of white supremacy, every bit of it. every inch of it. Some of them are named after white people. We need to do some thinking, in-depth thinking. And we are, in answer to the question, yes. When we have babies, they're not our babies because we are babies. We are prisoners of war. So prisoners of war have babies in the prison. But every baby in there, including me, I'm a baby, still a baby. I'm 90, Neely Fuller Jr. in his 90s. I never grew up to be a man. You don't grow up to be a man in the system of white supremacy. That's impossible. There isn't a black man on this planet in the year 2023. That's a child you're looking at. And if you don't believe it, let the white supremacists come around. They'll prove him to be a child in about 2 minutes. Anywhere on the planet. So we're babies having babies. Now, who's responsible for all these babies? The people who are running the prison, the white supremacists. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, they tell us, I'll give you a job. But you got to, I ain't going to send no boats after you. That's what they tell black people all over the world right now. So dark-skinned people are doing what? Lining up in what? Refugee camps. All right, get in line now, get in line. Okay, boys and girls, and get your little young guns. And get them in your hands now. Now, 100 of you out of the 10 million step forward. I'll check you out, give you some health benefits and all like that. Now, get over there in that cage and wait until I call your name. Next. That's going on right now, all over the world. Black people with their so-called families in their arms, going across deserts, crossing oceans, saying one thing, chanting almost, which way did the white folks go? Which way did the white folks go? They're saying that while they're rowing the boat. Which way did the white folks go? Which way did the white folks go? Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Which way did the white folks go? Beating our drums. And talking about our great civilizations. We're just as crazy as we can be. And just as dumb as we can be. And we ought to admit that because the first step toward being smart is to realize how dumb you are. So in answer to the question, yeah, we can continue to have babies. They didn't have no problem with us having babies on the plantation, and we're still on the plantation. So we're put here, too. And some people who say that they're Bible-oriented, we're put here, too. Multiply. There's a lot of people who have read enough of the Bible, the Holy Bible, King James Version, to say that they saw that in there. All right? I haven't read that much of the Bible, but I've heard enough from people who said they saw it to believe them. That's in there. Be fruitful and multiply. So you're carrying out what you're sent here to do. Just because the white supremacist said you're having too many babies, too many for whom? Well, you can't take care of them. You're darn right I can't take care of them. They're your babies because I'm your baby. You're taking care of me. Now, if you teach me enough, I can take care of my own babies, but you ain't doing that. And blaming me for doing what my Creator told me to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Corey, from Milwaukee. Let's do this. we've been stating that we would like your participation and to help us to try to get better, because we make a lot of mistakes. We do. We're really trying to get it better so that, that mistakes are limited. So, you can go to contact@producejustice.com with your suggestion how we can, be better. I say that in this respect, that someone in the chat room has mentioned that today's program, which is the 28th of February 2022, well, someone pointed out that the title on there of today's program is "The Counter-Racist Code with Neely Fuller," stated February the 28th, 2022. Okay. I don't know who's responsible for the graphic, but okay, we messed up. Okay, forgive us. And hopefully whoever is responsible for that will get that together. Now, maybe that's important to some, and maybe it's not. But it was pointed out. So now whoever needs to make the correction on that so that we have the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. stated, updated or corrected to February the 28th, 2023. So I hope that satisfies those who are looking at that kind of thing. Anyway, moving on. We're going to go out to California. Man, oh man, I think it's Miss Us. At least that's what it says on my screen. Miss Us from California. Nicole and Quake Hugh, you're coming up next, but let's go to Miss Us. Miss Us, California.
Okay.
You're in the house.
Thank you. Mr. Fuller, I have a question. So earlier on in the talk this morning, you mentioned that we need to get on the play field or something to that effect. It's time to get down to business when it concerns dealing with our problem with white supremacy, black people and non-white people and white supremacists. So you say talk to white people about solving the problem. Okay, that's part one. You say talk to white people about solving the problem. Part two of that is you say, but only if they bring it up first. So I'm interested in solving the problem. I'd like to bring it up first. But you say wait until white people themselves bring it up. So can you explain that?
Yeah, that's what the code is for. See, you don't mention anything about race. I'm talking about, you will be talking about solving the problem, but there's a codified way of doing it. First of all, like when white people say something like, take care of your babies, okay, they haven't mentioned nothing about race. And you haven't mentioned anything about race. Then you start saying, you would just ask simple questions like, how? Say, well, you people need to you're having all these babies and you're not taking care of them.
Okay. Mr. Fuller. Hello,
okay,
Mr. Fuller.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I want to stop you right there because that answers a part of it. I want you to continue to answer this part of it.
Okay.
So when we talk about solving the race specifically, there's a race problem. There's a white supremacist problem. Do we have to wait until and that is the problem. Racism, white supremacy is the problem. Now, what you're talking about is a part of white supremacy. That's what they do when we have problems with our children or that type of thing. But I'm talking about racism as an umbrella problem. So we have to wait until they bring up race specifically, or are you talking about just solving one problem at a time? I'm a little bit confused.
Like a problem of something like putting a tire on a car.
Well, what you say?
I'm trying to get the frame of reference.
Okay, I want to be very clear because I want the answer to what you are saying.
Yes, ma'am. There's an answer to every question, so it's just a matter of finding out what it is.
Okay, so my question again, I'm talking about the system of white supremacy. You're talking about a specific problem that you run into a white person and they say, where you have all these children, what's the problem? And you ask them, well, why don't you help me with that particular problem? I'm talking about dismantling the entire system without going problem for problem, this specific problem here and that specific problem there. I'm talking about the system. When they bring up racism, the system, is that the time to talk about racism, the system? Am I making myself clear?
Well, I guess, but see, the system is put together by everyday things. That's how the system works.
Okay, so let me stop you right there. So the problem,
yes,
the problem is you're talking about taking some time. Then this is going to take time. If we do one problem at a time, solving one problem at a time, this is going to take a long time.
No, it won't. I'll tell you why. Because
okay, let's go.
Because when you're solving one problem, that one problem is attached to a whole bunch of other problems. It's just like you on the back of a truck. You might have a truck loaded with a lot of things, and so there's so many things in that truck that is pressing against the sides of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what. Everything in the truck is chained. Every individual item is chained to every other individual item. So when you get ready to move one thing off of that truck, everything falls off the truck, so to speak. I mean, when you pull that one thing, some people have done that, like trying to empty a closet maybe. And the way the stuff is stacked up in there, one thing is connected directly or indirectly to everything else. So when you pull one thing out of that closet, everything, and this has probably happened to some people, everything in the closet comes tumbling out of the closet. On to the floor.
So Mr. Fuller.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You have answered my question very well, and I appreciate that. I am now clear about what you were saying, so thank you very much. I wish you the best.
Yes,
all right, thank you.
The mathematical equation is all areas of activity. Economics is connected with education. Education is connected with entertainment. Entertainment is connected with labor, because a lot of people will say, I'm going to work. And say, well, what kind of work do you do? Say, I'm a saxophone player. They say, well, you're not going to work, man. Don't you enjoy playing saxophone? They say, yeah, but I play saxophone for a living. Sometimes I don't feel like going to work. I don't feel like playing my own saxophone. And I get my buddy to go over and handle that gig. See, so everything is attached to everything else, even when it doesn't seem like that way. It has to be that way in the system of white supremacy. That's why you call it a system. Everything is connected to everything else. What you see on the surface, you don't see what's up under the surface. See, the white supremacists understand that. Just elaborating on the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All righty, let's do this here. You are listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we thank you so much for all of your questions and all your inquiries. Now, for the remaining half hour, 30 minutes, if you'd like to get in contact with the show, call 516-453-9921. And when you do that, if you do have a question, just press the number 1 button and you will get in line. Make sure that you give your name to the call screener so that I can give you your introduction. If you don't want to do that, you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. And at some point in time, not today, but at some point in time, your question will be read and I will alert you. And finally, you can also join the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com and you want to click on programs, and when you do, you want to get the Produce Justice show. You do that, you click on that, and the chat room is one of the options that are available for you to get into, and you can join the chat. Now, listen, do not use the chat room for me to ask Mr. Fuller a question for you. That is what the phone number is for, and the Gmail. So please, ma'am, please, sir, do not do that. And when you do that, when you write me, please do not write me a novel, because I cannot read it for radio. You know, I have to radio edit, or I'll ask you to radio edit, so don't do that. Okay, all the books, you know where to get that at, producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. Okay, let me do this and go on from there, and hopefully we can get these 3 in. This is from Tess, who was on the line earlier today, and he wrote, I asked a question. It's kind of lengthy, but I had to cut it because it's too long for radio edit, but I understand why he wrote it the way that he did. Let's see. And he was trying to be clear so that he wouldn't confuse people as he asked this question. It goes like this. It says, in the prior week's broadcast, it was stated by a YouTuber that white supremacy is a, quote, unquote, a mental prison. After this comment and after the questions and answers followed the broadcast, there is an apparent disconnect from what Mr. Fuller is saying to the collective minds who are trying to understand what is being said. To summarize my report, I have a question that I hope demystifies what white supremacy is, who qualifies as a victim, and who can victims find salvation or safe haven from white supremacy on this planet. As a warning, this question may be absurd in nature, but I have stated my reasoning as to why I will be asking it, if I may continue. Thank you. In the northern Sentinel Islands is an island in the concept known as the Indian Ocean. This remote island is home to the Signalese people who refuse contact with the outside world. Although this may be true, there has been contact between non-white people of this island and the outside world, quote or unquote, civilization, which has been extensively documented. In fact, the non-white people of this island have been documented in photos, naked or nearly naked, while carrying wooden bows and arrows and spears, which have been taught, quote, unquote, uncivilized characteristics. My question is, Mr. Fuller, is in 2 parts. Are the non-white people of this concept, known as the North Sentinel Island, subject to white supremacy? If so, does their, quote, unquote, uncivilized nature play a role in this determination?
The question is, does it play a role?
Yeah, he says, my question is 2-part. Are the non-white people of this concept, known as, quote, the North Sentinel Island, are they subject to white supremacy? And if so, does their, quote, unquote, uncivilized nature play a role in this determination?
That last part, that's the part I didn't get. Does it play a role?
Let me see.
That's the part that I didn't get.
Yeah, well,
that role thing.
I'm just reading it. Go ahead.
What did it say?
It says, wait a minute, let me read it again. It says, my question is in two parts. Are the non-white people of this concept, that is the North Sentinel Island, subject to white supremacy? And if it does their uncivilized nature, which is in quote unquote, play a role in this determination? Now I don't know what that part means, but that first part.
That was the part I was having difficulty with.
Yeah.
But first of all, they are, if they're people of color, all people of color come under the system of white supremacy in the year 2023. Anybody who has color in his or her skin and is classified as non-white, you're automatically subject to the system of white supremacy. Why? The system of white supremacy is the dominant government on planet Earth in the year 2023. What is the system of white supremacy? It means those white people who believe in dominating and mistreating people of color are the dominant species on planet Earth in the year 2023, either directly or indirectly. They have power over them in all areas of activity. Now, when you say it like that, the answer is yes, they are dominant over those people. Dominant how? Well, you got 9 areas of activity. Economics, how people use their time and energy. The white supremacists can go wherever those people are. That's why the person who is even calling in says somebody got this information. And if any black person has it, you better believe a white person has it. Because it's there's major things on planet Earth in the year 2023. If any black person knows about it, any major activities that go on planet Earth, the white supremacists know about it because they know more than anybody. That's why everybody goes to them for information. Everybody that's got color in their skin. They start looking around for somebody white if they want what you call, bottom line information and top line information and everything in between. You better be looking for somebody white. Start with. See, that's an argument settler right there. So in answer to that first question, yes, they come under them. Now, the civilized part. There are no people on planet Earth, according to logic and evidence, in the year 2023, who are, quote, unquote, civilized, according to logic, codified logic. Look for the truth first. Are there any civilized people on planet Earth in 2023? The answer is no. Why? Because people are killing people. That's a giveaway right there. Any people who have among them people who kill people are non-civilized. I don't care what kind of this, that, and the other they may claim that they have and actually show evidence that they have, or what they claim that they are. The one thing that they are not is civilized, because you cannot have a civilized society of any kind where people are killing people. No black people or white people on planet Earth in 2023, according to what? Neely Fuller? No, according to logic. Civilized means you don't do anything like people killing people. How can you be civilized and do that? Well, there are different reasons, and you got no reason. That's out. That's out. That's out altogether. But the white supremacists, more than anybody, they know how to do things and get other people to do it. But there's nothing civilized in a white supremacist world. And that's the dominant government on planet Earth in 2023. So that second, the first part, yes, those people come under the system of white supremacy, directly or indirectly. the very fact that the white supremacists know about them means they are dominant. The white supremacists have more power than those people have. They can be wiped out in 2 minutes, all of them, okay? And they won't know what hit them. I mean, the white supremacists don't even have to show up just to wipe them out. They can certainly get a disease that the white supremacists gave them, and they're gone. I mean, whomever they are, and no matter how many thousands of years they've been there. Now, that takes care of that. And the second part is civilization. Forget that on planet Earth. There's no way to have a civilization in the system of white supremacy. It doesn't compute in anybody's computer. No, it's not a civilized black person or a white person on planet Earth in 2023. Why? Because just on one thing alone, people everywhere kill people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All righty. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Tess, if you're still listening, you can address that again next week when you call in. Nicole in Maryland, you're up. Go ahead. You're there. Nicole? I'm going to hit you again because you're one of our regular callers. Nicole? Okay, Nicole is not there. Okay. QuaQ. Gotcha. Callie, you're there.
Morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Morning.
My question is in regards to the law of compensation, as stated in your book. It says the 3 basic steps towards racial subjugation compensation: ask for what should be given, accept what is granted, and compensate for the difference. Under explanation, just very quickly, it says ask for what should be given. This means that non-white people should ask the white supremacists to reveal truth and to produce justice and correctness in all things, at all times, in all areas of activity. My question for Mr. Fuller is, why should non-white people only ask to reveal truth, ask for things that reveal truth and produce justice and correctness?
Why should non-white people ask for justice?
Why should non-white people only ask ask to reveal truth and to produce justice and correctness?
I didn't get that first thing. Ask for. That first thing you mentioned. Ask for what?
It says non-white people should ask the white supremacists to reveal truth and to produce justice and correctness. My question is, why should non-white people only ask to reveal truth and to produce justice and correctness?
I'm not hearing. It might be me, like it usually is, but I really, maybe somebody. Mr. Bobby, did you hear the question?
I heard the question, but he needs to state it again, maybe slowly.
That last
part. State it slowly, your question slowly, so that Mr. Fuller could hear and understand what you are saying.
Okay. Why should non-white people...
Let me follow closer right behind you. Why should non-white people only ask
the white supremacists to reveal truth?
Only ask for white supremacists, just take it slow,
to reveal
to do what?
Truth.
That last part is what I can't get.
To reveal truth.
To reveal truth. Okay.
And to produce justice and correctness.
And they should ask, non-white people should ask white people to reveal the truth about anything, because the white supremacists believe in telling things that are not true, saying things that are not true. They depend on that. It's called deception. So the first thing you ask when you're talking to any white person, you suspect that white person, if they're able to be a white supremacists, they probably are one. So that's the first thing you assume. The code requires that. If a white person is able to be a white supremacist, that white person probably is one. And you have to do that. Simply, I don't have it, a master list, quote unquote, of who is a white supremacist and who is not. So you suspect in a system of white supremacy, somebody's got to be a white supremacist, otherwise there would be no such thing as white supremacy. But nobody says who is and who isn't. So you have to guess. And so the logical procedure would be you suspect any person who is able to be a white supremacist probably is one in a system of white supremacy. And this, in answer to your question, anything dealing with justice, since the white supremacists can produce justice, that's an assumption. They know how to do it, which means guarantee that people are not mistreated, and they can guarantee that these people who need help the most can get that most constructive help. So that's why you ask them for it in answer to the question. Black people can't help you. They'll tell you that. You know, that's why black people fight each other for scraps that come from the white supremacists. We don't know how to make much of anything except what they teach us all over what we call our great continent. Among people who are classified as black, we often refer to our great African civilizations, but you better have some white people there if you want to get something done that's real modern. I mean, like make an airplane that can fly through the air with 700 people on it. I mean, that thing is heavy. And look at the tires on something like that. Just the tires alone. How many people of color know how to do from scratch and haven't been in contact with any white people at all, how to produce something like that in what we call our great civilizations, which don't exist, by the way.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, Kwaku, thank you. Mr. Fuller, I've been given permission that we can go over, but I need to make sure that that is okay with you because we have a few callers on the line that we need to answer their questions. So is that okay with you, Mr. Fuller?
That's fine with me, and I'll try not to hold things up in these explanations.
Okay. All righty. Let's see here. We're going to get the new caller in. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get him in here. Okay, new caller. Okay, Lee, you're. Wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute. See if I can get you in here. There you go, Lee. You're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning. My question is, Mr. Fuller, are you familiar with FBA and their leader, Tariq Nasheed? And if so, what is your thoughts on the FBA movement?
Am I familiar with FDA? Is that what you said?
Yes, it stands for Foundational Black American, and their movement and their leader, Tariq Nasheed.
I've never heard anything about that.
All righty. Thank you, Lee. Don't be a stranger. Let's see here. Nicole, got you on again. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead. Nicole? Okay, can't get you on. Swa, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Greeting, Mr.
There you go.
Greeting, Mr. Neely for Jr. Mr. Neely for Jr., I'd like you to explain these two terms, And also, so why should black people be serious and courteous?
Why should black people be serious and courteous?
Yes.
Is that what you asked?
Yes.
Black people, all people, should be serious because it's constructive, and courteous because it's constructive.
Can you explain those two terms? Serious
and courteous. These are actions that have a constructive effect. When you're serious and not frivolous about things that need to be done, careless about things that need to be done, that's what serious means. You're not careless. You're trying to get something done in the best possible manner. Because being serious usually is attached to doing something. So you want to do it and take it seriously. If you are a nurse or a doctor, if you're a doctor doing brain surgery, you don't want to be turning flips and playing loud music and what they call music, have a lot of noises and whatnot, and being careless about dropping, you got a coffee cup over there, you're sipping coffee and trying to do brain surgery at the same time. That probably doesn't work very well. You're spilling coffee on the patient while you're trying to do brain surgery and trying to smoke a cigarette too in between the coffee. That's not serious if this is going to be a successful operation, to make that illustration in a simplistic manner. That's not serious. Being courteous, saying good morning to someone, a good evening, and being what we generally call polite, it works better than getting on the elevator and start cursing everybody out. You get on the elevator and say, good morning, folks, and the folks might say back to you, if they believe in being courteous, good morning, good morning. Like people usually do. I just gave that elevator thing because that's usually when people have sort of a peripheral contact with each other on elevators. All kind of bunched up together. So people get a have a nice day. You see it happen. Probably have done it yourself. Things are just a little better rather than get on and start immediately using a whole lot of profanity and asking people on the elevator if they're ready to fight. That's not courteous. Anybody here want to start some mess? I got something for you. I'll take care of your morning for you and your evening too, because you ain't going to be here by evening. Has anybody on this MF? So anybody want to get wrong now, don't get wrong with me right now. That's somebody who probably has been snorting something. So that person is not being courteous. And that's not having a constructive effect either. That's ruining everybody's morning, depending on how the people on the elevator react, using that as an illustration. So I hope I've answered that question.
All righty. Thank you, Swa. Thank you. James, North Carolina, if I can get you in here. There you go, James. You're on with Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Fuller, you have very accurately described how the racist code of conduct requires racists to dominate and mistreat all people of color at all times. But I think what also needs to be emphasized just as much is the fact that the racist code also requires racists to dominate and mistreat all life forms on this planet, such as animals, plant life, and anything else, including the earth, because the earth is a living organism. So, just as a suggestion, I think that's something that might need to be discussed more among victims of white supremacy, that racists believe in dominating and mistreating all life forms and all things. That's all I have to say. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Yes, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. That should be pointed out. Anything that's non-constructive that anybody is doing should be pointed out. Simply starting with that question. Is this constructive? Whatever's going on around you every day. Just ask yourself, first of all, that question. Is this activity I see before me constructive? Because it's either going to be constructive or non-constructive.
Yes, sir.
And regardless of who is doing it, it's going to fall in one or the other of those two categories. It's just two. Constructive, non-constructive.
Uh-huh. All right, James, good to hear from you. Good to hear from you. Okay, third time might be the charm. Nicole, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead. Nicole? Well, your name keeps coming up, but nothing there. Okay, last caller, I think this is. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Hi, it's Kwaku again.
Go ahead. I just got a few minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, just to follow up on my previous question about asking the white supremacists to reveal truth and produce justice and correctness. My follow-up is, should black people only ask the white supremacists to reveal truth and produce justice and correctness? Emphasis on only.
No, you ask white people for anything that you need or you think ought to be happening. You get white people involved in anything that you think will have a constructive effect. Anything in any area of activity, anytime you have that opportunity. When a white person lets you know directly or indirectly, do you have any questions? So, yes, you should have hundreds of questions ready of anything that's constructive. You should have a list, a long list. And if you're a person of color, the list should be automatically long anyway. Because black people have a whole bunch of needs, people of color. You have needs. You need questions answered. Because we have a lot more questions than we have answers. I know I do.
Yeah.
So that's the answer to that.
Mm-hmm. All right, Q, have problems pronouncing your name. Listen, we've come to the end of the program, so we'd like to thank all of you, particularly all the callers. Man, we just had blasts, so many callers, and that's good. The word is getting out, as B. Sams had said. The word is getting out. Mr. Fuller's word is getting out. So excuse us for making many mistakes today. We will definitely try to get better, but we do appreciate your calls, your inquiries. Remember, no question is stupid. No question is not without Mr. Fuller, attempting to answer it. He invites all questions, so don't be afraid. Ask whatever it is, and we'll try to get the understanding because we don't want confusion. Don't forget to get all the books at producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. One more time, producejustice.com. Next week, we'll try to do better. Honestly, we will try to do better. Mr. Fuller, last word.
Last word, next week we will try to do better. and whomever is using the material in a way that's not constructive, stop doing it. Just stop doing it. And any material that you have to contribute that material. But always make a distinction between where the material is coming from.
Yes.
What you are doing separated from what Neely Fuller is doing in order to not have what? Confusion.
All right. All right. We'll try to do better next week. We'll see y'all. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, callers. Bye.
Mm-hmm.